From rabbits to cane toads, Australia's long been colonised by unwelcome feral invaders. Exotic bees are the latest threat, but a majority of Australian governments have decided it's impossible to wipe them out. That's angered honey producers and parts of the horticultural industry, and 7:30 can reveal the decision also goes against the advice of an independent consultant. Peter McCutcheon reports from Cairns.
A trained Labrador has found the scent of an exotic pest.
Yes!
The dog is rewarded for a successful reconnaissance.
Good boy! Huh? Good boy.
While biosecurity officers bring in the heavy artillery. In a small hole of this mango tree is a hive of the destructive and invasive Asian honeybee. After bombarding the hive with half a dozen cans of insecticide, the enemy is destroyed. The remains are examined and stored for research.
Have a look at this around. There's a fair bit of drone there, and there's a bit of worker stuff, but there's a fair bit of drone stuff popping up.
This program is now in limbo because a majority of Australian governments believe the war is unwinnable.
As to eradication, the decision was made that was not possible.
But affected industries are accusing authorities of being too keen to fly the white flag.
I think it's certainly premature at the best. We were finding them early and we felt that we were sort of turning the corner. But now, unfortunately, they don't want to continue the program.
This is where the problem began. 4 years ago, a ship arrived in Cairns with a colony of Asian honeybees in its mast.
We could expect the bee to move, I'd say, throughout most of Australia, actually.
Dr. Dennis Anderson has been closely studying the Asian honeybee for more than 20 years. He explains that, contrary to its name, this particular subspecies is a poor honey producer and robs other hives. In other words, it's a useless and destructive pest.
It moves anywhere up to 100 kilometres per year off its own back. That is, by swarming and just moving forward. And it seems to be in this invasive mode, so it's swarming quite regularly and just moving forward all the time.
European beekeepers are horrified at the prospect of a widespread outbreak of the Asian honeybee. Managed hives like this one belonging to queen bee breeder TREVOR Weatherhead are part of an $80 million industry that is vulnerable to the exotic pest.
For the honey industry, the Asian bee will outcompete our managed European bee and also will rob nests out.
Taking out the European bee would do more than just affect honey producers. Managed hives are used by horticultural industries for pollination, and that's why Australian vegetable growers are worried.
At the moment, the incursion's only small, and I think that can be attributed to the successful eradication program that has been in place, and that's why we have serious concerns about removing this eradication program.
Let's see what this one's got today.
National funding for the eradication program was pulled last November, although Queensland continues to fund some positions. Most state governments believed eradication was futile.
It wasn't a unanimous decision, and in fact Queensland, Tasmania and the Northern Territory had views that additional work would be beneficial, but the weight of opinion was that additional work would not change the facts.
7:30 can reveal that one independent consultant's report, considered by state and federal governments, found that although eradication is not certain, it still appears feasible. And that's a view shared by Biosecurity Queensland officers in the field.
Operationally, we still think we're within a window of eradication. It's by no means certain, but from what we see on the ground and how we know that once we detect infestation, we can kill it.
But 7:30 understands a dissenting view was put by the Victorian Department of Primary Industries.
The decision was made that we would cease the formal cost-sharing arrangements for eradication. That does not mean that further work is not going to be done.
The details of this further work are still to be determined, and officially the program has moved from eradication to containment. A scene played out on the streets of Cairns illustrates the extent to which the exotic bee could become a pest in urban environments. Electricity workers cut down a part of a power pole where the pest bees had created a hive in the smallest of hollows.
Because this bee only requires a very small cavity, we can expect it to be, you know, quite a pest around the cities and towns.
That's it. Nice one. You got it back?
More than 350 of these hives have been destroyed in the Cairns area over the past 2 years. The hives have been found some 50 kilometres away. And opinion remains divided over whether authorities gave up too soon on total extermination.
Expansion will occur. That's essentially what the decision was based on, that it is not eradicable, but we will do the best we can to protect Australia from any impacts of this animal.
I have difficulty in saying how they're going to contain it. No one has been able to explain to me what they're going to do to contain it, because I don't believe it's in the realms of possibility.
Peter McCutcheon there in Cairns.